Hey there fellow creators, Ben here from Cinder Studios, and this week we are tackling something drawing related. I'm going to show you how to level up your line art in just 5 minutes. Stick around. So when it comes to something like traditional graphical ink illustration, a lot of people struggle with having nice, clean, confident, and not necessarily wobbly lines. And it's one of those things that even a experienced artist can struggle with from time to time. And I've found over the years that there's a pretty simple little technique to keep your eye in the right place in order to make sure that your lines remain clean, confident, and pretty much perfect every time. So let me show you what I got here in front of me today. Okay, so I've sketched out and penciled down just some geometric towery shapes here on this sketchbook, which unfortunately has some paint splattered on it now from a project I was just finishing. But try to ignore that. It's not really important to that. We're just focusing on those shapes. Now when it comes to inking a penciled sketch, or maybe you're doing comics or a traditional illustration, a lot of times people struggle with getting sort of the same kind of confident, smooth lines coming over top with an ink pen. So I grabbed 2 ink pens today. I've got just a regular sort of Blick liner pen. This is a 0.3 millimeter, nice, simple, thin lines. I might use some of that towards the end, but primarily for the camera, I'm going to be using this Micron Graphic 1, which has a nice, relatively thick line that shows up on camera a lot better. We'll start out by just thinking about what most people would do when they approach line art, something like that. This is primarily a visual thing. So, I mean, it's art, it's a visual thing, obviously, but it has to do with where you're looking. This is one of those things where I'd say, even if you're not necessarily a digital artist, practicing the digital medium can actually help with this a little bit. It's something I learned, especially when I, first got my digital tablet. It doesn't have its own built-in screen, so there's like this hand-eye coordination disconnect. And in using that, it helped me figure this little process out a little bit more. So whether it be a pen or just the cursor on your screen, a lot of people have the issue with looking directly where they are drawing. So very specifically, they're looking at the tip of the pen. When you're looking at the tip of the pen, you have a tendency to just kind of wiggle that line and follow, like, okay, this is where I'm looking, right here, right where I'm drawing, which in theory makes sense, but as a result, what you get is it makes those lines really kind of wavy and unconfident. Like, just doing it myself, yeah, you can see that wobble, you can see that shake, aside from my hands being a little shaky anyway. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing a ton, and it's just like you're again focusing on the tip of the pen only. And the problem with doing that is that you kind of lose track of where you are. You're focused on getting that exact little spot right, and in doing so, you miss a large portion of what inking actually is able to do. And I think even certain professionals will end up falling into this trap from time to time. Like, if you're not used to inking a ton, you think something like Inktober, which is designed to get you more confident and more adept to inking, but if you don't pay attention to what you're doing, you're never really going to figure this out. So rather than looking about where your tip of your pen is, which you shouldn't be doing, you should be looking at where your pen is going. So put your focus not where the pen is directly, but put it, I don't know, maybe a couple centimeters, an inch or so ahead of wherever your pen is. And the second you do that, you're not thinking about, oh, is this line right, is this line right? It's going to be, where do I need to guide my hand to go? And the second you start thinking just a little bit ahead, your lines get a lot more confident that way. And you also, you think a little bit, not just using your wrists, but the elbow and shoulder joints. But I don't have to worry about suddenly getting every tiny little detail right. I'm just making that line because I'm looking ahead of the pen. And that's really all it takes. Is like, don't look at where your pen is, look at where it is going. So I'm going to try to narrate this as much as I can. I have to concentrate a little to kind of get that right. But I'm starting here, I'm pushing up, but I'm not looking at the point where I'm putting the pen down. I mean, I technically am, but I'm mostly focused on where it is going. So I'm trying to connect those 2 points. And that's all it is. That's, you know in advance where you're going to put that pen down. I'm going to start here, and go to this place. But if you're not looking at where your pen is ending up, you tend to have a problem actually visualizing where those go. So it immediately makes your lines a lot more confident. And the idea of tracing over that line perfectly becomes more about just figuring out where your pen is going. Again, simple idea, but even experienced artists, I think, oftentimes will struggle with this. A little bit of flop at the end there. That was just my arc not being complete. And if you need to take a break in between lines, this is another piece to this. So this is a tough arc to do all in one go. So I'm going to do half and half. I will go to the middle. Now, a lot of people, again, you tend to want to go there and then start right dot to dot, edge to edge. Start further in. That way, so I'm not going to start directly right here. I'm going to start maybe half a centimeter back to make sure that line remains more unbroken. That's a really hard arc for me to get right now. Also, I wasn't looking where I was going. So again, it's easy to forget. Did it again. I was looking too far back. So it's not perfect. I don't, ink over pencil lines a ton, and even when I do, I'm letting myself be a little bit more freeform and more flowy. I like to let my lines move a little bit more. I'm not necessarily tracing one-to-one every time. But it definitely helps your lines get a lot more confident just like that. Let's get this last one done here. These are really weird shapes. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah. These arcs are see, now I'm struggling with these arcs, but again, it is a very big difference between, slight wiggle here and the whole line, that whole shape being, wiggly as hell. Probably should have made some smaller shapes. And just like that, your line confidence gets that much better and that much more confident. So remember, taking your line art from a shaky, wiggly line to something a lot more smooth and confident is as simple as just training your eye to look ahead of where you're going. Don't look directly at the point of your pen or pencil. Look at where you're going to be drawing next, and your lines will get better just like that. As always, if you found this little tip useful or just interesting, let me know your thoughts about it in comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this and want to see more stuff like this. Get subscribed if you're not already, and this has been reminding you to keep on creating, stay inspired, and I will see you guys next time. Yeah, my hands are a little shaky this morning, probably because I haven't eaten breakfast yet.